Hello, today I'm reading part 3 of Horse Crazy. I'm up here with the horses again, and you can see Jackie Boy in the background having his breakfast. When we finished yesterday, the two horses, the Brumby had jumped into the paddock and the drover's horse had jumped the fence and gone off with the Brumbies, but only the Brumbies know that, so let's see what happens. This chapter is called New Drover. Excuse Jackie Boy's very slurpy manners. Bill Cooper finished his cup of tea and glanced down the paddock. Look, Drover's finally stopped pacing up and down. I don't believe it. She's snoozing by the shed. Sam and Bonnie went to see if Drover really had calmed down. They walked slowly, calling her name and softly holding out an apple as a peace offering. The horse stared at them, head up, snorting, eyes nearly popping out of her head. What's happened to her? Bon was puzzled. She normally just ignores us, but she's acting as if we're Martians. Look, she's trembling like a leaf. The mare didn't turn her rump to them in her usual unfriendly way. Instead, she moved forward slowly. Then very cautiously, she nuzzled Bon's neck. Bon giggled and put her arms around the mare's neck. Drover leant into her as though she loved it. This is very weird, said Sam, rubbing the horse's ears. She looks the same, but she's behaving so differently. Bon put her nose right on Drover's grey coat and sniffed. She even smells different. She smells of the bush. Oh, hang on, I didn't show you that beautiful picture of the girls going down there that Roland has painted in his beautiful watercolours. The two girls went over the horse like detectives looking for clues. They found that overnight Bill's horse had developed a matted mane and tail, cracked hooves and a couple of new scars on her legs. The crescent-shaped scar under her mane had disappeared. You're not Drover, said Bon, shaking her head. You're somebody else. I'd better tell Dad. Hang on, Sammy. Bon was untangling the mare's mane. She loves us. Maybe we shouldn't tell him. Drover was never this friendly. She is nice, Sam agreed, but Dad's bound to find out anyway. Look at her hooves. We could trim them and comb the knots out of her mane. He'll never notice. But who swapped her? It's not fair on Dad. They must think he's too stupid to know his own horse. That's something to think about. Bon crinkled up her eyes the way she always did when she had a problem. Let's check the bottom fence. The mare followed, nudging them gently with her nose. They expected to find the fence cut, but it looked the same as ever. Sam wriggled carefully through the barbed wire and bent down, studying the ground. A lot of horses have been here, and none of them were wearing shoes. She looked at Bon proudly. Do you know what that means? Brumbies. Maybe Drover has gone off with the Brumbies, and maybe this horse is a Brumby who decided to stay. Oh, please don't tell your dad, Sam, not right away. Let's just see how she turns out. This chapter is called The Makeover. The new drover was a quick learner. She stood as still as stone while Bonnie and Sam took turns with a big hoof rasp. As they filed off the broken bits until the new mare's hooves were as smooth and round as the old drover's. Everything was new to her. As the day went by, the girls became more and more convinced that their Brumby swap theory was right. When they put a headstall on her, she snorted and looked surprised but didn't back away. Whenever she seemed afraid, Bonnie soothed her with secret horse talk and massaged the tension out of her neck. They combed all the knots out of her mane and tail, then trimmed the bottom of her tail square like they'd done with old Drover. Then they washed her and brushed her as she dried in the sunshine. I don't think your dad will be able to tell the difference. Bon stared at their handiwork from the shade of the old gum tree. She looks just the same. Yep. Sam fondled Pant's ears. She looks the same, but when he rides her, he'll notice. And you can see the girls with her, and then his Pants having a wash as well. Bonnie and Sam decided they needed help. An unbroken Brumby would be hard to train, no matter how friendly she was. They called on someone they could trust, Birdie Davidson. Auntie Birdie never treated them like little kids, and she knew everything there was to know about horses. When the girls told her about Drover and the Brumby, she nodded. It sounds as though you're right about the swap. Horses have a mind of their own, you know. The three of them sat on the bench on the veranda and watched Birdie's horse Whale grazing in the paddock behind the house. Can you tell us how to train her? Bon asked. She won't know anything about being ridden. Sam squirmed in her chair. She still didn't feel good about tricking her father. We've only got 5 days. Dad always rides through the town on Thursdays, and it takes ages to break in a horse, doesn't it? Well, it depends on the horse, answered Birdie. Look at Whale. He's such a sweet-natured horse that he almost trained himself. Your Brumpy sounds the same. Let's go and have a look at her. Now they are with Birdie on the veranda. Over the next 5 days, whenever Bill Cooper was away from home, Birdie and the girls worked on the new drover. On the first day, they taught her to lead. Sam walked beside the mare, gently encouraging her forwards. When Sam stopped, Drover stopped. When Sam walked, she walked too. Then Sam ran slowly and the Brumpy trotted beside her. Birdie smiled. She liked the look of this horse and her gentle eye. Now make her go backwards, she said to Sam. It's important that she knows how to yield to you. Sam held the rope close to the headstall and pushed steadily away. Drover stepped carefully back. Good girl, soothed Sam. Good horse. On the second day, they taught her to tie up and accept the saddle. Sam put the saddle blank on Drover's back, then carefully placed Bill's heavy stock saddle on top. Drover jumped slightly and then looked embarrassed. Her reactions were the same with every step. At first she was frightened, but she quickly took to things. On the third day they put the bridle on. She mouthed the bit at first as though she'd tasted something really bad, but soon started chewing on it. That's good, said Birdie. That means she's accepted it. On the fourth day they drove her in long reins, making sure she knew which way to go and when to stop. On the fifth day it was time to get on. When Sam swung up into the saddle, new Drover turned her head and stared in amazement. Bon patted her neck and soothed her. Then Sam squeezed her legs and the horse stepped forwards. Birdie and Bon watched them go around the paddock, walking, circling left, circling right, sideways, backwards. Finally, Sam pushed Drover into a canter. They turned and trotted back up to where Birdie and Bon were sitting. Sam swung out of the saddle. She was beaming. She's beautiful, isn't she? Have a ride, Bon. You'll love her. And I think she's going to be okay. Oh, I wonder if I should start a... I don't think I'll start a new chapter because there's too much to do, so I'll stop there. And we'll see what happens when, Bill gets on the horse and will he realise it's actually a different horse. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye-bye.